Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Demolished. Over 5 houses knocked down in an informal settlement in St. Catherine. Government aims to boost fishing stock. And later in sports, West Indies women looking to end T20 series against New Zealand on a high after Wednesday's Super Over defeat. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Several residents of the informal settlement on the outskirts of Clifton in Portmore, St. Catherine have been left homeless following a demolition exercise this morning. As you'll hear in this report, the move is part of efforts to clamp down on the illegal sale of lands in the area. Sandra Williams has the details.
One by one, houses in the informal settlement of Clifton, Portmore, St. Catherine tumbles as an excavator works its way through the structures. Some residents watch with anxiety as their homes are demolished before their eyes. Some of them say they've been living on the land for more than a decade and now they are homeless. They claim they have nowhere else to go. For others whose homes have not yet been destroyed, they are fearful.
Yes, I'm scared about my house because I don't sure if it's going to be demolished. And I am so sad for the other people them that place is licking down the foundation.
The lands in Clifton forms part of the Bernard Lodge property. On Wednesday, while speaking in Parliament, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said that a criminal gang had captured the lands and was reselling plots fraudulently.
Gang activity is at play. I think it's important for us to be very unequivocal about when we say we are breaking the back of gangs, when we are dismantling gangs. The modern criminal organization has managed to acquire funds in various ways.
However, the residents are refuting the assertion, suggesting that some had purchased the land. Despite their assertion, no one we spoke with had a title or any other legal document to show ownership. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Residents of Guys Hill in St. Catherine remounted roadblocks in the area this morning as they continue their protest action. The Guys Hill St. Catherine protest stems from an incident where residents claim police officers hauled a motorcyclist from his motorcycle, resulting in both the driver and pillion being hospitalized. Residents started their protest sometime after 5 Wednesday afternoon and remounted the blockades Thursday morning, insisting they will continue protesting until the issue is addressed by the Member of Parliament and the Police High Command. However, the police gave a different account of the incident. According to head of the St. Catherine North Police, Senior Superintendent Howard Chambers, in a bid to evade a police checkpoint, the motorcyclist sped off and subsequently crashed in a wall. Meanwhile, commuters, to include students in Highgate St. Mary, which borders Guys Hill in St. Catherine, were stranded as taxi operators say the protest is impeding the route.
Yeah, man, affected bad, man. Because we can't get nobody to carry. We have to go start from our journey. And switch our park up right after now. We don't do Guys Hill, you know. With the real Springfield.
The main thing we sorry for the school picnic, because none of them can go to school this morning.
How many of them turn back this morning?
Boy, 100 of them, you know, have to walk back this morning, you know. Then are not name choice. Because in a sense, they even can't come on the road, can let them out. But some of them who say they have an exam and sitting, and so they're willing to walk.
How far is Guys Hill from here, with this roadblock here?
Well, that's about 2 miles.
How you feel about it?
Bad. But there's nothing we can do. Nothing at all. So what happened now, I have to just call today a dead day and just go home.
When our news team visited the Guys Hill High School, the principal told us that he was not able to comment on the impact of a protest action on student attendance as yet. He said focus was being placed on the teaching-learning process for the day. The bloodletting continued in St. Mary. The latest victim has been identified as 35-year-old Jermaine Graham of Bamboo Walk Content and Allentown in the parish. According to reports, minutes to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, Mr. Graham was sitting on a bench close to a shop in Barclaystown when he was attacked and shot. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. This incident has shocked residents who say they have never had a shooting in the community before.
I'm really so upset about it because this has never been happening in our district, so it's be the first time. So to God be the glory, you know. All we have to do is just continue to pray.
Now, this is the 30th murder in the parish since the start of 2022. Portland businessman Everton Beecher Stout MacDonald and his co-accused Oscar Barnes, who are charged with the murder of his wife Tonia, are to be tried on September 18, 2023. The trial date was agreed during plea and case management in the Home Circuit Court this morning. The judge and jury trial is expected to last 7 weeks. The prosecution intends to call 25 witnesses, while Mr. MacDonald's defense team intends to call 7. Attorney Ernest Davis, who is representing Mr. Barnes, intends to call 2 witnesses, including the accused. A trial readiness hearing has been set for June 16. Mr. Barnes' bail was subsequently extended while Mr. MacDonald was further remanded. Meanwhile, Justice Graham Allen suggested that Mr. MacDonald be tried for the murder of his first wife, Marlene, on January 25, 2024. The prosecution is to disclose the indictment dated January 29, 2021 to the defense by tomorrow, October 7. A case management hearing was subsequently set for January 25, 2024. A multi-million US dollar program is ongoing to help boost Jamaica's fish stock. But amid the effort is a warning to fisher folk that they could end up in jail if they breach the marine life protection laws. More in this report.
If you're caught causing interference, remind yourself to go home, collect some money before you go to court.
A warning to fisherfolk and other marine interests about the legal problems awaiting them if they are caught fishing inside fish sanctuaries or during the closed season for certain marine life. Agriculture Minister Pernell Charles Jr. gave the reminder while participating in the handover ceremony for buoys that will help warn fisherfolk about the presence of fish sanctuaries.
There should be no interference within the sanctuary. So if you pass the boundary, you understand that you're doing something that is illegal, and any removal or obstruction or object blocking the free passage of fish or anything in the sanctuary can actually attract Dr. Bellamy some very significant fines, up to a maximum of $3 million in the parish court and an undefined sum if it goes to the Supreme Court, with imprisonment of up to 3 years. So we are taking this very seriously.
At present, 12 coastal communities across Jamaica are benefiting from a program to promote climate-resilient practices in the fishing sector. A $4.8 million grant from the World Bank is being used to fund the project. Under Component 1 of the project, additional buoys have been placed in the country's coastal waters to mark fish sanctuaries.
These sanctuary markers were made right here in Jamaica by the Aracabessa Bay Foundation Fish Farming Group. So we did training with them, we did stakeholders meeting with them, and they have been making it for a while, supporting other sanctuaries. But we saw the quality work that they put into these sanctuary markers, and so the project thought that we would purchase these markers locally to support the local industry.
Additionally, surveillance of Jamaica's coasts have been bolstered.
Under this component as well, the project purchased an enforcement vessel to strengthen the National Fisheries Authority's capacity to combat illegal fishing.
It is hoped the program will also help with the country's food security.
It ties in to the Grow Smart, Eat Smart, because this is helping us to have more fish for us to consume locally caught fish, fresh from the sea right to the plate.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
There's another appeal this afternoon for the government to clean the Sandy Gully. The major drain, which runs through the corporate area, is filled with debris and overgrown vegetation. MP for Western St. Andrew Anthony Hilton says it poses a threat to residents of Seaview Gardens and Riverton Meadows. He was speaking this week in Parliament during the State of the Constituency debate.
The gully floor and wall have been breached, and we are only a hurricane or a storm away from what I can only describe as a human catastrophe. The signs are clear, Madam Speaker, for those who choose to see or to listen to the concerns of the residents whose voices are merely echoing here today. We must avoid this impending catastrophe by doing what the Minister of Finance promised some 3 years ago. We must clean the Sandy Gully. Death knows no political color. Death knows no social standing.
Mr. Hilton also wants the drains leading to the Rio Cobre, Freshwater and Duane rivers to be cleaned to minimize flooding in the New Haven community. Meanwhile, another MP is calling for a system to be established to maintain roadways and housing developments. MP for St. Ann Northwestern, Crystal Lee, says there's a gap in the development process. She adds that residents in housing developments expect the authorities to fix the roads when they deteriorate, even though the roadways are not under the supervision of the National Works Agency or the municipal corporation. Now, the Urban Development Corporation, National Housing Trust, and the Housing Agency of Jamaica are also urged to roll out similar programs to fix roads and other infrastructure in communities they develop. The education sector is getting more help in making online education accessible. Both a private and a public sector entity are providing devices and internet connectivity to students, teachers, and the most vulnerable island-wide. Codian Barrett reports.
There are issues plaguing Jamaica's digital transformation plans, primarily the digital divide and learning loss among students. But more partnerships between eLearning Jamaica, the Ministry of Education, and the Universal Service Fund are tackling those issues one step at a time. On Tuesday, eLearning donated 120 tablets, 63 laptops, and 4 projectors to the Department of Correctional Services at South Camp Juvenile Correction Center.
This is very important, as we must guarantee that our educators and students have access to technology that will support the improvement of national learning outcomes regardless of background and circumstances.
Since the COVID pandemic, e-learning has contributed significantly to the education sector, but a lack of access to devices and connectivity put many at a disadvantage. At Tuesday's handing over, Chief Executive Officer at eLearning Jamaica, Andrew Lee, explained that the latest contribution furthers the company's mandate.
Over this period, we have procured and successfully deployed 40,000 tablets to grades 4 to 6 students on PATH. We cater to the most vulnerable. 25,000 tablets to students in grades 8 to 9, and those are students on PATH. 15,000 laptops to PATH students in grades 10 to 13. And of course, over 30,000 devices to needy students through the Own Your Own Device initiative.
Teachers have also benefited as they've received over 8,000 laptops so far this year. Meanwhile, over in Cedar Valley, St. Thomas, the Universal Service Fund launched a free community Wi-Fi. It will serve more than 5,000 students with online studies, as well as the community who would have otherwise not been able to afford the luxury.
I promise you, we won't do like NWC. One morning, all of Jamaica got up, we heard that everybody gone on strike. I promise you that as long as you take care of the facility, it will be here for generation and generation.
Mr. Dawes says the fund is also prepared to support students who show an interest in information and communications technology with devices up to the tertiary level. Codian Barrett for TVJ News.
And it's now time for a look at what's happening in the economy. Here's Sandra Williams.
Come February 2023, Frontier Airlines will begin non-stop seasonal flights from cities in the United States to Sangster's International Airport in St. James. Senior Manager of International Sales at Frontier, William Evans, made the announcement on Tuesday. He said flights from St. Louis start on February 23 and will be 3 times per week at an introductory cost of $139. Flights from Denver, which begin on February 24, will be 3 times per week at an introductory rate of $149. And flights from Chicago begin on February 25 and will be once per week at a rate of $139. In business regionally, a senior World Bank official on Tuesday said that the gross domestic product of Caribbean economies have not yet recovered to its 2019 level. This even as the region emerges from being among the hardest hit regions by the coronavirus pandemic.
We're not expecting that to be the case until 24, and that reflects the overall slow rate of recovery of the region. Part of that is we know many of the islands are very tourism dependent, and we had a hard time getting a handle on COVID. And many countries of the region are still with vaccinations around or below 40%.
That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Sandy Williams.
Now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, schools and public offices in Tobago were dismissed early on Wednesday as the island was impacted by severe flooding and landslides, the results of inclement weather associated with the passage of a tropical wave. The Tobago Emergency Management Agency reported landslides in several parts of Tobago, including Culloden Bay Road, Mason Hall, and Plymouth. At about 1 p.m., the agency urged the public to seek alternative routes as significant flooding left roadways impassable. Flash flooding was also reported in lowlands. On the international scene, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has expressed sadness and shock at the mass shooting in northeast Thailand at a child care center. 34 people, including 22 children, were killed. UNICEF condemns all forms of violence against children and say no child should be a target or witness of violence anywhere or at any time. UNICEF also urged the public and media to refrain from posting or forwarding images and videos related to this violent incident, as this may further negatively impact children, victims' families, and their loved ones. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.